Hello, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. I'll give it just a second for people to jump in. I know it's just going live now. So, Matt, Steve, you guys doing okay today?
Doing good. No crazy
Good.
moves in the market today.
No crazy moves in the market. It's a waiting day, as they say. So,
I thought we might get a little shake up with Jay Powell and Yellen testifying, but nothing so far.
Still
yeah,
just chilling at a 12 and a half VIX over here. Just chilling.
yeah. That's what we do over here. Just chill at 12 Vixes. Anyway, hope everybody's doing good today. It's good to see you guys. With us, my trusty partner, Matt. Rusty is busy in the development dungeon, working on things that you guys very much want. And with us today is a very honored guest, Steve from Navigation Trading. So, Steve, you doing okay today?
Doing well, doing well.
Good. For those who don't know you at all, you've been involved, in our Discord quite a bit and have done courses on Academy. But do you care to give people just the quick bio of who you are and how long you've been doing it and what you've been doing?
Yeah, so I started trading primarily stocks and futures back in the heat of the .com bubble back in the late 99, early 2000. Really been focused the majority of my trading on options trading for about the last 15 or 16 years. And in 2016, my brother and I started Navigation Trading to start just kind of teaching people what it is that I was doing, how I was doing it, and have built up a really awesome community of professional traders, brand new traders, all experience levels, to focus on just helping each other become better options traders.
For sure. And I've always said this about you. You were one of the first classes I ever took on options and learned a ton from it. And still kind of value what you do. And the thing that I've always loved about you, I always tell people, is that like working, running Option Omega, you interact with a lot of options people out there. And it is just shark infested waters. There's just a lot of people who, it's tough. It's tough to trust sometimes. And one of the things I've always loved about you is you're very, very transparent. You put out the losses, you put out the wins, you put out the ugly losses, you put out the wins, and that kind of always in my mind been very impressive that it speaks to your character. And so, yeah, we big fans of Navigation over here. The thing that's interesting to me, and we started talking, you trade a lot. I was talking to another kind of options educator the other day, and they were just like blown away by how much you trade. You trade everything, right? I mean, you trade in your sleep.
Some think that I have a problem. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
you trade the Nikkei, you trade the Nifty.
I don't go that far, but yeah, I trade about everything, almost.
Yeah. And so you are now trading something that, as a diehard Peyton Manning fan, it hurts a little bit, but you are trading something called the Magic Mahomes spread.
Yes, and I'm very aware that there's probably traders from 31 different cities on this call or that may hear this and are going to absolutely despise the name. But yes, I live in Kansas City. I'm a Chiefs fan. I'm a Mahomes fan. And so since I'm the one who named the strategy, I got to name it whatever I wanted. And, I like to have fun with the names, just makes it easy for people to understand and remember. And there's a very specific reason why I named it the Magic Mahomes, which we can get into. But yeah, I understand a lot of people are going to hate the name, but
It is.
at least
It
I
is
didn't
what it is.
name it Taylor Swift. Okay, how about that?
Oh no, for sure. Yeah, I'm shocked that we have not had someone asked to do the eras strategy or something stupid like that. But anyway, so one of the things that's interesting to me is that you trade a lot in the afternoon. There's people who kind of say in the afternoon, there's different types of things you mean by that, post lunch, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, but like you trade a lot. You have a lot of different things you're looking at the last hour of trading. So that's my guess of kind of what some of this is, but can you kind of give a detail of what is Magic Mahomes? What are you doing in it? What's your goal of it? Just talk through it a little bit.
Yeah, so I think like a lot of traders, I mean, some traders are very focused on the morning, some are very focused in the afternoon, or have different specific times. Because we trade so many different strategies at Navigation Trading, we stream to our community for the first hour of the day and the last hour of the day. And so this is something that kind of came about, and it's specific to the last hour of the day. And in fact, it's specific to the last 15 minutes of the day, which Mahomes being number 15 is part of why it's called the Magic Mahomes, because it takes place in the last 15 minutes of the day. But yeah, I mean, I would definitely say the first hour and the last hour are my most active. I do some stuff during the middle of the day too, but because of that, we stream for the first hour of the day and for the last hour of the day, so we can just really just show people live. We have our video courses, we have our step-by-step stuff, but you can't necessarily get all the details by watching a course that was a screen recording, right? I always tell people, it's like, if you watch a video on golf, okay, great. That can maybe help you with your golf swing, but until you actually get out there live on the course and start swinging the club, it's not really going to mean much. And so the way that we structure things is we have our step-by-step video courses, but then we also live stream so that we can share our screen and show live in real time with the different nuances, the different market conditions, what we're doing. So we've chosen the most active periods of the day, which is the first and the last hour. Specific to this strategy, which is in the last 15 minutes, within when 10 minutes before the bell, there is the market on close imbalance, and that it basically, if for those who are not familiar with that, basically the market on close imbalance is a report that's reported 10 minutes before the bell every day. And it has to do with the inflows and outflows for all the big money managers. We're talking your big boys like BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, all of the biggest money managers out there. And they have to report their inflows and outflows each day. And they are required to have their final numbers in for that report for 10 minutes before the bell. And so if you can imagine, everyone who's contributing to a 401k plan, everybody who's contributing to an IRA plan, anybody who's retiring and taking money out. So those are all inflows and outflows, and they have to report their net daily inflow or outflow number. And so then 10 minutes before the bell, that's announced publicly. And then that trade from those big financial institutions is done as a market on close order right at the bell. And so a lot of times we'll see, especially if there's a big number up or down, if there's a big buy number or a big sell number, and I consider a big number over 3 billion, anything plus or minus less than 3 billion is typically just kind of a natural order or flow of assets. But anything bigger than that, a lot of times you'll see some movement in the last 10 minutes. And so we'd like to position this trade. Ideally, we like to get into this before the MOC number, so sometime in the last 15 minutes. Now, with the way the pricing has worked lately, I mean, there are times where we've actually not gotten into this trade until the last 3 or 4 minutes, and it can still be profitable. In fact, it has been extremely profitable, even if you can't get in until a little bit later. But essentially what we're doing is we are, there are a couple different ways to do this, and we'll talk about this in the class, but it's either a short call butterfly, short put butterfly, or a long iron fly. They're all kind of the same thing. and we're entering that for a specific price, and then as quickly as we can, if price just moves around 5 points, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little bit less, 5 points away from our mid strike, we're able to convert it, or what I call transform it, into a risk-free trade where we've locked in profits and we have the ability to and we just let it expire from there. So we let it expire for either whatever profit we locked in, or we have the potential, if it moves correctly, to book even more profits. This is something that I only do in SPX. There is, NDX is just, especially at the end of the day like that, it's just not quite liquid enough. The prices are just jumping around. Sometimes it's a lot harder to get filled. Liquidity pretty dry. And then the biggest reason for either using an index like SPX or NDX is the fact that you can just let it expire and it settles to cash.
So that's the thing that, that's one of the benefits of it. It's not necessarily for those who deal with the 25K, the pattern day trader thing. It's a strategy that they could run as well.
Yeah, good point. So yeah, you don't, even if, like, we have some community members who have big accounts and they trade big accounts, but they have set up smaller accounts just to trade specific strategies. I trade multiple accounts because I trade SPX a lot, and I trade a lot of different strategies on SPX. And the problem is, if you have just one account, you find yourself with a lot of strike overlap. Right?
Oh yeah.
You've got a calendar here, you've got an iron condor here, you've got verticals and all kinds of different things. The next thing you know, you don't know what's what. And you're overlapping strikes. You're trying to buy something that you've got a short option on, and all that stuff. So the issue with the pattern day trade rule is, if you have under $25,000 in your account, you can only trade, I think is it 3 day trades in 5 trading days or something like that. I can't even remember, but but we have people who in our community who trade bigger accounts, but they also have maybe they opened up a smaller account, or they have an old Roth IRA that they open an account with to trade. And there is no pattern day trade issue because you're simply just putting the trade on and you're letting it expire. Well, that doesn't count as a day trade, because technically when you let SPX expire, when you let the options expire, they technically settle the following day. So it's not considered a day trade.
And because this is, is it usually set up as I know you're transforming it through the time and adjusting it. Is it set up as debit usually?
So it depends on which version you use. If I sell a put butterfly, or if I sell a call butterfly, I'm getting a credit for that trade. Mm-hmm. If I do a long iron condor, a long iron butterfly, then technically you could do that for a debit, but it depends on what version you do.
I see. And then the margin, the reason I was asking that is that I imagine with this type of thing, margin's not outrageous with the type of setups you're doing, and
not at all.
With the adjustment.
Your max risk on a one lot, which is also your buying power required, is $300.
Oh, okay.
Per one lot. So, when I first started doing this quite a while ago, just trying to figure out the mechanics of this, because I knew there was something there. Well, first of all, I started using toss on demand, which is brutal all in itself, from both a process and a realistic fill standpoint. But I spent hours and hours on that, and then I tried to do it paper trading, but especially at the end of the day, the fills are just way off compared to what you would get in real life, which we know. But even in this instance, in the last 15 minutes, it gets even worse from a realistic fill standpoint. But the reality is, so I quickly moved to real money, and it's easy to do because you're risking $300, and that's only if it pins a very specific number, which is very unlikely. So, so using very little capital, you can test this thing with a one lot till your heart's content, till you really get a good feel for it before starting to scale up, because you're only risking $300.
Yeah. No, that's good. And then I imagine because it's you're adjusting through the time to trying to make it risk free. It's not a back testable strategy in the classic sense, right?
Yeah,
It's
good point. And obviously, with this community, we're and a lot of my trading that I do is back test driven.
sure. Yeah.
This is not one of those. We've had, including myself, when I first started, I tried to find a way to back test it. We've had a bunch of our members try to do different things to try to find a back testable version of it. And there are just too many variables with the way that we enter, the time that we enter. And remember, as I mentioned, sometimes this is a trade that we don't get into until the last like 4 or 5 minutes before the bell. Uh,
Yeah.
well, with option omega data being 1 minute, I mean, that could be 25% of the entire trade.
Right.
If you're looking at the end of the minute. So unfortunately, it's not something that, and it really doesn't need to be. I know some people say, well, if I can't back test it, I'm not going to trade it.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
that's fine. But
Yeah.
but this is not a back test driven strategy by any means.
No, I mean that there, there are trades that you can't backtest. That's part of option. It'd be crazy, as the architects of Option Omega, it would be crazy to sit here and be like, well, if you can't backtest it, the strategy doesn't exist. That's insane.
Well,
But
I've heard people say that, and there are people in my community who will only trade back tested strategies, which I have no issue with that. Like, you don't have to trade everything. In fact, I encourage people, you don't have to trade everything that I trade. I would encourage you not to, but yeah, that, just to be clear, it is not a back test driven strategy.
Yeah, shout out to all the raving backtesting fans, but that is, we appreciate you. But it is there are lots of different flavors of trading and things like that. And then the same vice versa. I know there's people that say backtesting's fake and it doesn't matter and nothing, I think we all, if you've ever traded a backtest over time, that's
Troy,
not
we're
right
just
either.
talking about the old one standard deviation curve, right? We got people on the tails. Some people have
That's
to
right.
backtest. Some people will never backtest, and then you have people in the middle.
That's right. That's right. I'll be happy in that regard to be in the standard deviation for sure. So you are doing a class, and it's next Tuesday. So it's next Tuesday. Is that the 16th? I believe that's the 16th.
Sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds right. And it's at 3 p.m. Eastern. Is that correct?
3 p.m. Eastern. I'm Central Time Zone, so 2 p.m. my time. So basically, yeah, and 1 hour before the market closes. And so the plan is to spend about 30 to 40 minutes, which will be plenty of time to go through the strategy and have time for Q&A before we actually enter the trade. But I wanted to do this live because it'll be perfect where I can talk about it, teach it, talk about all the specifics, all the criteria, all the details, and then we'll go right into trading it live. This is something that I trade every single day, almost every single day. Hopefully it's not one of those days that it doesn't work. If it is, it'll be a good example of when it doesn't work. And maybe we would come back and do another live session. But this is something that when we stream every day with our community during Power Hour, we trade it.
I got you. Yeah, that's fantastic. I put the details in the chat, and then obviously we'll be emailing it out and things like that. And so basically the way it's going to work is, because it's a one-off session. It's a live class and a live trading session with Steve. It's $99, and then basically when you sign up to Academy, you'll get an email with the Zoom link, because it's a live session, and so you'll get the Zoom link. And then, Steve, will it be recorded?
Yeah, it'll be recorded. Yeah. So whoever's part of it will be able to be there live. If you can't be there live, you'll obviously get the recording. And in fact, I would say, at least this was my experience from our community, it's a little bit different concept than most people are used to, even if you've been trading options for a while. And so a lot of our folks have needed to go back and rewatch the course multiple times and model it. You know, I'm a big user of Thinkorswim, so I like to model it, model things on the analyze screen, the risk profile graph. If you don't have TOS, you could use Option Strat, another good one. But it takes a little bit of practice, but it can be done at any time, because you can simply model the criteria that we'll talk about in the class, and you can do that over and over, even if the market's closed. And so you'll be able to get up to speed pretty quickly if you don't really grasp it the first time around. But absolutely, the recording will be available, not only of the class and everything we talk about, but also the live trade.
That's great. Yeah. So it's on there. It's on Academy. If you're questioning, wait, that doesn't look like Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, what is that? He's a
Don't
fake.
worry about it. Don't worry about it. That we, as Peyton fans, we couldn't go all the way with it, but we wanted to just put Patrick with a screen. So that's our Patrick Mahomes tribute.
But that's not, that's totally not Patrick. That's Magic Mahomes.
Yeah,
in case
Magic
anybody's
Mahomes.
wondering.
That's right. But yeah, it's live on Academy. Steve, I mean, you always do a great job trading. And the thing, I'll give you credit for it. You're really, really creative with the way that you trade. You know, Matt and Rusty always are talking about this. Like you always find ways. Like, we all knew about MOC for years. Like, we'd look at MOC and like you did something with it. And so I'm thankful for the way you trade, because at the end of the day, you're a trader. Like, this is what you do. You trade, and you show the profits and the losses and things like that. And so I'm excited for it. I think it's a good, in my mind, these type of strategies, they're great things, like arrows to put in the quiver, because it just gives you more, confidence to have just kind of, I love the idea of like set it, you set it, maybe adjust, but the idea of, you're not having to take a stop loss, especially end of day, those type of things, that's my jam. And I think that's a lot of people's jam. So,
yeah. So one point on that, Troy, which I'm glad you brought up, because, when I mentioned I'm a big TOS user. So after the transition from TD to Schwab, I don't know if a lot of folks in your community have experienced this, but if you're trading 0 DTE and you're using stop orders and things like that, the slippage has just been atrocious in some cases.
yeah.
And so one of the things that I've actually started doing more of is trading different strategies without a stop, just because the slippage was getting out of control. It seems like it may have started to improve a little bit, but we're still getting people reporting some pretty bad stuff. But so one of the things that I've done is not only trading strategies without a stop, but also we've started an entire series of what, I know, another corny name, I get it, but we call it the transformer spreads. So the Magic Mahomes is just one type of transformer spread. So, when you asked me to do a class, I thought, well, this will be a great one, because A, it's fun, it's quick, it's, I think people will like it, and it's profitable. But B, if you like the type of trade that it is, we've started doing a whole series of what we call transformer spreads, where it starts off as one thing, and then we're transforming it by making an adjustment to completely remove the risk, and then give ourselves an opportunity to book more profits. So I've been doing, I would say probably 80% of my trading recently has been around some type of transformer spread, where we're able to remove the risk pretty quickly and get into a situation where we don't have to use stops. We don't have to worry about anything. We can just let it expire. Sometimes it hits max profit. Sometimes we get a minimum profit, but you don't have to worry about some of the issues that are going on right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think that makes complete sense. And the way you're doing it with those type of spreads, what is the tenor of that? Like, what's the days to expiration on average that you're trading with some of those transformed spreads?
So I'm doing it in all different durations. I mean, 0 DTE is nice because you can do it quick and then it just expires and you know exactly what happened that day, right? I mean, that's part of the allure of 0 DTE. But I just did it today on a 1 DTE that I just entered today. I'm about to do it. I'm getting close on my 2 DTE trade that I put on this morning, and I'm pretty close to being able to transform to remove the risk. And then I've done it on long duration stuff. Obviously the issue with longer duration is once you do it, then you're just it just sits there and you're just waiting for it to expire. So the shorter you have until expiration, obviously the quicker you can kind of turn those funds and redeploy that capital into more things. But you can really do it with any duration. But my main focus has been 0, 1, and 2 DTE.
I think it's super creative when you are learning options trading, obviously pre-COVID, pre-SPX dailies and things like this, any type of tenors or expirations, as they call it, that's largely what the Greeks were used for in those times is you might start out with like a 45-day condor, but by the time it's done, it could look completely different. And that was part of the options trading thing. So I'm really excited about like what you're doing of bringing some of that knowledge to the short game, because again, obviously Option Omega, backtesting, not very adjustable stuff, but it all feeds together in my mind, because you kind of can come up with short-term ideas and then go from there and grow them and things like that. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah. And I was asking, and actually in relation to backtesting, how you can use some of the stuff, maybe not the Magic Mahomes one, but some of the other transformation spreads is, like what I did this morning is I took some 0 DTE, some 1 DTE, some 2 DTE, all based on backtested criteria. But then after I was in the trade, then once it gets to a certain point, I transform it. And so then that's kind of where the back testing of that ends. But using Option Omega to find criteria of how and when and why to get into a strategy, that's still very relevant.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And I think we'd like to think so as well. So I know you got to run. I know you, again, like we said, you trade in the afternoons. Matt, you got any questions or anything like that for him? Matt has moved himself to a football stadium, I believe.
I'm totally not at Arrowhead Field.
I see.
Totally not. And I was just going to give a shout out. I think this strategy sounds like a good one if you just have a short time commitment and you still want to actually trade something. What I have found the value in is having a community, and I just was going to give a shout out to the navigation community. And Steve has a incredible group of people over there that work together and backtest ideas together and talk shop together and encourage each other. And I just think having a community is a super important part of making options trading something that you can have sustainably, because you're not at your all-time high all the time. You might be in a drawdown most of the time, and having a community that helps you get through the good times but also the bad times is pretty important. So I was just going to shout out the NT community. So
yeah, thanks, Matt. I appreciate it. Yeah, this was always my goal when we started navigation trading. Was one of the reasons I started is because trading is a pretty lonely thing if you're doing it by yourself. And so I needed, if I tried to talk about trading to my friends or family, you'd get that kind of deer in the headlights, glazed over look, like they were about to fall asleep, and nobody understood, and I couldn't understand why nobody was into it like I was. And so I needed my people around me. And so it's been pretty awesome to see what our community's grown into, with all the, full-time professional traders all the way down to the brand new traders just trying to figure things out. It's been pretty awesome. And it's just, it's where I spend. My wife would say, I spend more time in the community than with her, which I guess is true. But it's just been become a big part of my life, and it's been awesome. So appreciate you mentioning that.
No, that's awesome. And then last thing before you go, just to your point about how people don't understand anything that we do largely when you're trading. I was getting wings last night with some friends, and they're like, one of them's like, "What do you do?" Like options, blah 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 blah. He's like, "What do you think of interest rates?" And so I'm going to just start asking everybody that I ever talk to from here on out. Steve from Navigation, what do you think about interest rates? Where are we going in the next year?
No clue.
I love it. That's a trader's. That's what I was waiting for.
My crystal ball's in the shop right now. I once I get it, I'll let you know. But yeah, I haven't. I don't know. I don't know about that. I try not to predict. I try to react, not predict. Troy, that's what I always say.
And that's why we like you over here. So, with that being said, Steve, thanks so much for taking time. Oh, one question real quick. Mark L asked, are you having filter conditions in place for initiating these trades, or are these open to each and every day? That's a good question.
Yeah, Mark, every day. I mean, there are, like, in the last, let's say 60 days, I may have not taken it once, and that's just because of the conditions that specific day. But as long as we can get filled at the price that we're targeting, then we take it.
Yep.
And I used to have a little bit of different filters, and I've kind of removed all the filters because I realized it wasn't allowing me to take near as many trades that continue to be winners. So this has been an evolution over time as far as, how I've kind of come to where I'm at and how I'm trading it now. But yeah, there are really no filters, except that if we can get in for the price that we're targeting, then we'll take it, even if it's up to a couple minutes before the bell.
Good question, Mark.
One other point, Troy, please, that I think is important to make for those who are considering wanting to join the class. I would say that, like, I mean, this isn't rocket science by any means, but I would consider it a little bit more of an advanced strategy. So if you are a brand new trader and you're just trying to figure out what an iron condor is, or how to operate your platform and how to execute orders and and you're just trying to understand some of the basics, I don't know if this is the best class for you to start with. We teach it. It's once you kind of learn the criteria and you practice it, you'll realize ends up being very simple. But I would say just kind of understanding the dynamics between entering it and adjusting it and how that works and how and why we do what we do. It's a little bit more advanced than just kind of your basic, put a trade on, take it off kind of thing. And so I just want to put that out there, just because I want to make sure that everybody is happy with, if they join, they're happy about it. If they join and they're not up to speed from an experience level, they might get frustrated because they don't understand it. So I just wanted to throw that out there to make sure that everyone knows it is. I would say it's a little bit more of an advanced strategy than some of your basic ones.
I appreciate you putting that disclaimer out there, because that's always a good reminder that especially if you're transforming from one thing to the other, you need to know what each one of those things is before you're beginning the process. Right. Last class, I know, like I said, you keep pretty detailed performance metrics. Do you consider that part of the Power Hour suite? Or some Jungle Cat's asking, do you have a return, or performance stats on that strategy in particular?
Yeah, so I don't have the best stats on it, and here's why: is because up to even about 60 days ago, I was trading it a little bit differently than I am now. And I had, like I mentioned, I had some different filters that I was using, which didn't get me into very many trades. What I would say is I do, for the last like 45 days or so, my statistics are pretty clean. And I would say, just from a high level, and I don't have it in front of me, but it has about a 75% win percentage. And then return on capital, I don't know the answer to that. I'll dig deeper into that so that I have it for the class, or I can even push that out to you, Troy, to kind of put with the course. So before people join, they understand what that looks like, but I don't have that in front of me.
Sure. Yeah.
It has been profitable, and it has, like I said, about a 75+% win rate. So those are the details that I know off the top of my head.
Yeah, sure thing. And we can put it in the class. And then if you want to send it to me, we can get it on the course page. And that way people know,
Yep.
ahead of time. So,
Yep.
All right, guys, I appreciate you. I hope you guys have good trading the rest of the day. And Steve, thanks so much for taking time with us. And we'll be back on Thursday for the year-to-date show in the Option Discord. So you guys have a good day.
Guys.
We'll talk to you soon.